With so many podcasts out there, shows can get lost in the shuffle. That's why we implore you to check out Too Many Captains. You can find us at amoviepodcast.com.
5 unique takes on Hollywood movies and culture. Find us on Twitter at It's a Film Podcast.
Check our intellectual deep dives into theatrical films. Find us on Instagram at Too Many Captains Productions.
Unique takes on soundtracks. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Too Many Captains Productions.
Find us at amoviepodcast.com on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. And now, here comes a new episode of Collateral Cinema.
I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon. I'm Ashley Chancellor.
This is Collateral Cinema. Welcome to Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters, where we focus on good movies, bad movies, and everything else in between in the world of cinema. We're podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast. So whatever you have, be it dabs, blunts, bongs, or joints, smoke it if you've got it. And happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Yo, happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Where's Dakota at?
Yeah, good question. And what is it going to be for Halloween?
He's going to be a twink.
Oh, wow.
What the fuck?
Jesus Christ, bro. Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, don't listen to him at all. Don't listen to Ash.
I was going to say he could be the other Zach and Cody twin. I don't know. What do you think, Ash?
We Dylan or Cole Sprouse. Not the blue one, okay? The other one.
Oh, that's funny, dude.
Oh, my God. Already, this is becoming a spooky episode, right?
Yeah, Halloween special, Boy Meets World style.
Boy Meets World style. Oh, yeah.
Nickelodeon.
Kenan
and Kel Halloween specials.
Oh, there we go.
Remember those?
Kenan and Kel. Oh, shit. That is awesome right there. Something that you don't know anything about, right, Ash?
Have you ever seen Are You Afraid of the Dark, dude? It's the greatest shit ever.
Have you seen Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with your mom. Oh.
Wow.
No, just kidding.
Damn it.
Are we really resorting to mom jokes on here now?
No, that's too old. We're not 5 anymore, right?
Yeah. I think that we need to stay within the spirit of the holiday.
Yeah.
It's extra spooky
you know what?
and horrific.
I take all that back. I'm sorry, Ash.
That's not what your mom said last night.
I don't care what she said.
Oh, my God.
Just don't tell me about it. Just don't tell me about it, Ash. I don't care.
Anyway, happy Halloween once again, everybody. We are back with another horror movie in what is indisputably the month of horror movies. I mean, I hope that everybody out there is just watching every horror movie that you can find. I don't care if it's like the most bargain basement, like dollar movie that you can find at Dollar General or whatever.
Yeah. Some people just resort back to the originals. I mean, that's what we do, right?
Oh, all the time.
I mean, I have to put every Halloween movie on in October. Just watch them all in order, right?
Yeah, all in order, exactly.
Including Halloween.
Oh, of course. Yeah, the Halloween movie.
We were going to do Halloween, actually, but then they ended up suspending it till next year.
We were doing Halloween Kills.
Oh.
Yeah, Halloween Kills.
Yeah. That was supposed to be out this year, but they postponed it.
And we were totally going to do an episode about it, but, you know.
It was going to be this episode.
Oh, yeah. It was going to be this episode right here, but, you know, COVID and all.
COVID.
Shit happens.
Yep, shit happens. Doesn't it, though?
I mean, it really is a scary year, so this is going to be a scary month. I think people should just dress up as COVID.
Oh, definitely.
or dress up as Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, dress up like Karens. Have you seen that Karen mask?
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord.
Is there a Karen mask? That's
There's
awesome.
totally a Karen mask, and it's frightening. But anyway, this movie that we are focusing on for our Halloween special is actually quite appropriate for this current time in our zeitgeist, kind of.
It does kind of fit the climate, doesn't it?
Very much so. And of course, we are talking about the all-time classic, the progenitor of the zombie genre, George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, straight from 68, right?
1960.
1960.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man, this movie is pretty much the beginning of modern horror. At least for me. Like, some would argue that maybe when you go back to, like, Psycho, that's kind of where it starts to kind of make that shift. But I don't know. There's just something about this movie where there's just grittiness. There's gore. I mean, there's a heavy social commentary in this movie, which we'll get into here in a little bit. But we have this movie playing in the background, and man, this movie means a lot to so many people, and it means a lot to me as well.
Yeah, I have to watch this every Halloween,
Yeah, it's pretty much required viewing, and it's also appropriate because it originally came out, I think, October 1st. In the 60s.
October 1st in theaters, and I saw one of the original release dates.
Yeah.
Initial release date was like October 4th. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And that was about 52 years ago.
Yeah.
This was recently, it was the 52nd anniversary of Night of the Living Dead.
Long time ago. Yeah.
And this movie, it somehow manages to be timeless, but still a product of its time in so many ways.
Yeah. But, it's interesting, too, because there's so many things about this film that feel ahead of its time. You know what I mean? There's progressive elements to it. I mean, notwithstanding, of course, the fact that we've got, a black actor portrayed as the protagonist, and there's not even a point that's made about that. I mean, George Romero didn't do that on purpose. George Romero picked a black actor because he just simply was the best fit. That's all that it was, is he was the best actor, for that role.
Yeah, and it's easy to see why, because this actor, what was his name? It was Dwayne Jones, right?
Dwayne Jones, yeah.
Yeah, this guy just takes control of this movie. I mean, he is like the main focus of the movie as far as I'm concerned. And, I mean, he casts a commanding performance over everybody else in this movie.
It's more of a stage actor feel, right?
Yeah, in many ways, there's parts of this movie that does feel like a stage play.
Yeah, inside a boarded up house.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that happens in a single environment. I mean, in just a single house. Like, there's different places within the house that they go, but usually it's really just the living room and the cellar that you see them, and outside.
Yeah, when they start setting stuff on fire, right, to keep all the ghouls away, right?
Yeah, and that's the point that you need to make. Is like, these are ghouls. They're not zombies yet. That hadn't been invented yet.
That terminology hadn't happened yet.
The term hadn't been coined yet, at least not in its current form. I mean, I believe it's a Haitian term, right? Originally.
Yeah. Zombies at first, when they were shown in popular culture, they weren't really like reanimated corpses that were lusting after brains or flesh, as it were. They were kind of presented in at least what could be seen as a stereotypical type of voodoo ritual, more or less.
Yeah.
And it was a ritual that actual voodoo priests did. I mean, of course, they used, I believe they used a toxin that is derived from the puffer fish to pretty much make people kind of go into this coma, pretty much. And eventually the person that they targeted would eventually come out of that coma, and that would have the illusion of, coming back from the dead.
Okay.
I've seen that.
That's
in the
interesting.
Movie, Buried Alive.
Yeah, there's something similar to that in Buried Alive, and we'll get into some of the other zombie movies that we've seen here in a little while.
Or some different Buried Alive, not the one we're talking about.
Yeah. But this movie, it follows 7 people. They're trapped in a farmhouse. This is in Western Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this farmhouse, it's just the center stage for a struggle of the ages in many ways.
The middle of nowhere, really.
Yeah. It's not just a struggle between the zombies and the humans. It's a struggle between the humans themselves. I mean, conflict is constantly present in this movie.
Yeah, and I like throughout most of the movie, there's not even a lot of zombie action. It's just a lot of the tenseness of the situation and the conflict that's happening between the humans, which is prevalent in a lot of, I think, zombie media today. Like you have like The Walking Dead or The Last of Us, which are also stories that feature zombies but tend to focus on the human aspect of, how would humans react in this scenario. So it really all draws back to this film, the original zombie film. I mean, hell, even the fact that they never use the word zombie, that's a trope that's repeated in most zombie movies, is that zombies don't exist in fiction and their world.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is just hard baked into the genre starting here. This is the example of all of those tropes.
Yeah, exactly. And it all comes from here. I mean, they didn't start eating brains yet. I think that came in one of the Seamus ripoffs. Or one of the sequels to this, or that started becoming a thing.
Maybe
but
Shaun
the
of the
idea
Dead,
of
Shaun of the Dead.
the idea of like cannibalistic, that's a great movie.
Yeah,
But the idea of cannibalistic undead corpses, is slow moving, really owes itself back to the original George Romero film. And I think, over time we've become desensitized to that idea. But at the time, this must have been terrifying. And I know this movie was controversial too for its use of gore and violence.
Yeah, so much of this just had not been seen before in movies. I mean, you can argue that early on in the history of cinema, there was some allusions to graphic violence, but this right here is when it actually was just laid bare and was just extremely visceral. You actually see the flesh and the sinew and the guts and everything.
So did you know that the actors were eating ham that was covered in chocolate?
Oh,
and so they were actually like getting like pale, and because it was so disgusting that they didn't need to put makeup on them anymore.
Yeah, that is fucking horrid. I think that they got most of the parts for this from a local butcher. And there's a story, I don't know if it's apocryphal or if it's been confirmed, that eventually some of the guts spoiled and they had to use it anyway.
Shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they were using rotting meat in a lot of these scenes. And that, that makes me just bleh.
Real effects.
That's some Kubrickian shit right there, right?
Oh, God,
it's like
man.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like real.
Even Texas Chainsaw Massacre wasn't that gross.
No, but
a
real live version.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, it's gross. I mean, it's fully out there, and it kind of seems. I would say this movie might seem tame by today's standards in a lot of ways. It's really not. It's not that bad, but at the time, I mean, this was huge. We'd never seen this in cinema, especially not in something so mainstream, I would say. Or I don't know if this was mainstream at the time, or if maybe it was more of a cult thing. It's certainly mainstream now.
I'm pretty sure that it was kind of a flop, right, Robert? It didn't. What did it gross? It was $114,000 budget.
Yeah, it grossed like 250 times its budget, really.
Yeah, but initially when it was released,
the actual budget was like 114,000, and the gross was like 12 million domestically, U.S.
Wow, really? It was that kind of successful?
Yeah, and 18 million internationally, earning 250 times its worth.
God damn.
Well, yeah. So I guess it really did make its money. I mean, obviously it spawned a lot of sequels and ripoffs and remakes, but from what I'm aware of, I mean, it was at its time still regarded as more of a cult classic because it was heavily criticized.
And now it's become something so much more than what it originally was. I mean, especially now that, film scholars have pretty much dissected this movie to no end, especially with the social commentary that is present in the film. But I mean, Romero says that he didn't really do that intentionally, and that, I mean, he just wanted to make a silly, dumb B movie, pretty much. That's what he was setting out to do. But I mean, this movie is so impactful, especially when you consider the politics of the time. I mean, this came out with the backdrop of the civil rights movement, of the war in Vietnam that was going on around that time, or I think it was about to really explode as it did. And I really see a lot of interesting parallels with what's going on today, especially with Black Lives Matter and the like. And what I kind of see going on here, the dynamic here is it's not just, black versus white or anything like that and taking that look at it in a racial lens. To me, it's the struggle between radical black activists that were involved in the civil rights movement at that time, that were they were really the ones that really pushed that movement, versus the more milquetoast white liberal mindset. That's what I see here. That's what's represented with Cooper and his family. It's like they're looking for false comfort.
Okay. Yeah, even if a lot of these aspects weren't by design on Romero's part, I think you see in it kind of what you want to, and there's kind of this unexpected quality of allegory, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what I was saying, if you look at Ben, Dwayne Jones' character, I mean, he's pretty much the one trying to take a direct kind of action against this threat. Which, I mean, the zombies, as far as I'm concerned, they symbolize unrest. They symbolize chaos. That's what they are. They're an agent of chaos. And that's really what it was at that time. There was a lot of chaos surrounding these movements.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That's interesting.
And, I mean, even Martin Luther King Jr. said something about, moderate liberals, especially moderate white liberals, being a lot more dangerous to the movement than actual fascist, racist type people at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because, like you said, if the zombies represent chaos, then,
ghouls.
The character Ben represents
ghouls, as it were.
The ghouls. Yeah.
Ghouls.
The character Ben represents order, and he definitely takes that. I mean, I like how he just sort of takes control. He hops into someone else's house and tells that family what the fuck to do. He's you can go down in the cellar. If you're up here, I'm in charge.
See, it's not so much order that he represents. It's organization that he represents. He's trying to organize a response to this chaos that is happening, this threat, this violence coming from the white supremacist state.
I think I noticed that when he picked up the gun. I was like, taking control, right?
He's taking control right away.
Exactly.
And that's because he's trying to actually organize a direct response to it.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Cooper and his family, they're ensconced in their privilege.
In the cellar.
That's what the cellar is. The cellar is the comfort of their own privilege. And it's their inability to really see the threat for what it is.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, if you really look at it from that angle, I mean, it becomes even more pertinent for our time, especially with Black Lives Matter.
And I saw that when they were deciding who goes in the cellar and who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Whether or not to even go in the cellar to begin with.
That's stupid, though. You're basically barricading yourself, though. I mean, there's no exit,
I think from a tactical standpoint, I mean, it would have made sense to kind of do a little bit of both. Like, barricade the windows in the main house, put up a fight if you need to, but as a last resort, go into the fucking cellar.
I would just get on the roof with a sniper, right, Bo?
Yeah. Although there's a lot of people that also point out that maybe going to the cellar probably would have been a good idea.
It would. How thick is that door?
I mean,
it was barricaded.
I mean, in the end, that's what they end up doing, and that's how Ben ends up surviving. Technically, is once he's forced down the cellar, he barricades it out, and then he's good. I mean, he survives the night, only to get shot right at the end there, mistaken for a zombie. I mean, if that's not just the craziest ending, and if we're continuing along allegory that you're describing, that is so pertinent, because it's like, even after all the sacrifice, even after all of the work that's been done and all the perseverance, I mean, in the end, it just normally gets shut down by someone who doesn't understand.
And how does he meet his end? He meets his end at the hands of a representative of the white authoritarian state.
Yeah.
It's like he's essentially lynched in a way. There's even that iconography that's kind of invoked in the ending.
They take his body in the photography ending, and they throw them along with the ghouls and they burn them, right?
Yeah, and that's with a lot of like happy-looking, portly white people just kind of standing around taking pictures, like being like, "Yeah."
It was like a lynching. It was a Trump
straight
rally.
up.
It was
there are historic pictures that have that same imagery, and it's fucking horrific.
You know, he's the final boy, right?
He is kind of the final boy, yeah, in a way. I mean, insofar as zombie movies have final girls and final boys. I mean,
yeah, it's usually a couple, or it's just like one final girl,
Yeah.
Well, it's him and Barbara, and then Barbara gets fucked. You realize that Barbara is gone. She is taken by the horde, and you're like, okay, I guess it's just Ben now.
Yeah, well, I mean, fitting back into the allegory I was talking about, I mean, Barbara is an interesting character because to me, she's the normal apolitical, non-radical person, and she's completely traumatized by the chaos. She's like she's the mainstream population, the mainstream idea or ideal.
And that's good because she's not part of the problem, but she's a burden,
Yeah,
and
she's in the way.
It's like she's in shock.
She's in the way, exactly.
Yeah.
Seeing her brother being taken down, turned into a ghoul, sir.
Yeah. That's a crazy scene in its own right.
I'm just worried about that Pontiac, bro.
Yeah.
Like smash the door in the fender, right? Ash, the door in the fender. Fuck.
That's like the source of Barbara's trauma, and it's understandable because just imagine, you're going to a cemetery to pay respects to, it was their father, right?
Yeah.
They're paying respects to their father. And, first, I mean, 1 second he's just ribbing her and joking with her and everything. And then the next second he's having to fight for his fucking life and for his sister's life. And then is killed right in front of her.
After his Ryan Gosling driver gloves comes along.
No, he doesn't take them off. He has one on.
He has them on the whole time.
Did y'all notice how her recounting of the story was completely different to what actually happened in the film?
Well, yeah, by that point she's unreliable because she's traumatized.
Yeah.
You can apply that as a, retroactive in-universe explanation, but I legitimately think that there must have been a script rewrite at some point and then it wasn't changed. But, in universe, it makes sense. I mean, she's traumatized. She doesn't remember what the fuck happened.
Did you see how she reacted to her brother when she saw him as a zombie?
Oh, that was tragic.
She just went with him right out the door, and then you assume she turns into a zombie, of course, right? Or a ghoul.
Yeah. I mean, she's definitely at least ripped apart by the ghouls.
Yeah. Her brother comes back, and that's her last chance of seeing her brother again, right?
Yeah. But also it furthers her trauma as well, because not only did she watch him die once, I mean, now she's having to see him reanimated. She's having to see him as a ghoul.
Yeah.
Well, it gets me, there's that one part that gets me where Helen is being killed by the reanimated daughter, and as a parent, I mean, that really strikes me because how horrible is it to, not only know that your child's gone, I mean, they're dead, but they're attacking you. I mean, you don't want to be in the position to have to murder your child, even though they're a zombie. I mean, we make those kind of rationalizations and we think, oh yeah, that's not my kid anymore. But think about how traumatic that would be, as a parent. I can imagine as a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, she died in absolute terror because of that.
She just kind of let herself go. I mean, and you don't blame her. She's completely traumatized, and you're right. She just let herself go. I mean, what was she going to do?
What could she do, honestly?
I think that there's definitely some, what's the word? It's alluded to that I think that there's probably some domestic violence going around. If not that, then at least, the father is the figure of the house, and he kind of, controls everything that's going on. So, add that onto her plate. Did y'all get those vibes with Harry Cooper? I mean,
oh, definitely.
Henry Cooper?
Yeah. He's definitely extremely patriarchal in his relationship. Definitely
a Fox News kind of guy.
Oh yeah, total Fox News guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not an actual domestic abuser, but there's definitely that sense of like, I'm the figure of the, we all know, father figures that are like that. What's interesting is to see, just him getting put in his place by Ben.
Oh, constantly. Yeah. I mean, their conflict is really what drives a lot of the movie. And that's, of course, the central theme here is conflict. And this movie, it actually became a series of movies. The second movie is also seen as a historically and culturally relevant film. It's also got its own level of social commentary going on with it. That's Dawn of the Dead, of course.
Dawn of the Dead, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we might go ahead and save a more in-depth analysis of that movie for an actual episode. But yeah, in that movie, the actual themes are actually a little more blatant, even though Romero was still kind of coy about it and still claiming that no, we just wanted to make a fun, dumb, gory zombie movie. But I mean, what that movie has to say about consumerism and about the emptiness of capitalist materialism is just spot on, you know?
You know what? I think that was the message of Poultry Guy's Night of the Chicken Dead, okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that movie is an all-time classic.
What did you think? That movie's great. Yeah.
That movie is amazing. Fucking
By the way, go
amazing.
check out our Patreon exclusive commentary on that one that's out.
Yeah, that'll be out very soon. I'll have that out sometime this month. And yeah, definitely check out our Patreon.
And check out Poltergeist, Night of the Chicken Dead.
Yeah, definitely check that movie out.
You should have that out by Halloween, you know, just kind of a...
Yeah, I'll try to have it out by Halloween. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead is an all-time classic. It's required viewing in many ways. Many people even see it as superior to the original. What do you think, Robert?
Superior to the original? Yeah, you're right, definitely. Because in many ways, the original holds up to this day. Even, watching the remake from 89 with the Candyman.
With Tony Todd,
dude, yeah.
And it was directed by Tom Savini.
Yeah, the Tom Savini one, dude. I like that one, but there's nothing like the original. You can always go back to that one.
Yeah, I mean, the original can really work as its own standalone movie. That's what's really great about it.
Even though, remember, the Tom Savini one was a different ending.
Yeah, and it also had a different characterization for Barbara as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, doesn't she end up being the survivor at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the survivor at the end, and I think Ben ends up being a zombie. He becomes zombified.
Yeah.
So they kind of made it a little more justified in shooting him, kind of.
Justifiable homicide.
I don't know. I like the way that this one ends because it's so poignant. It's just, and it's so quick, and it's done just very, what's the word? Not
Very
casual.
Very nihilistically, I would say.
And it ends with a credits list. Yeah.
Just not nonchalantly, it's just done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it just shows how cheap life has become because of this monumental event. I mean,
isn't that a little bit relevant to our particular situation?
I was about to say that, actually. Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting movie to be talking about when it comes to the pandemic.
The COVID
situation.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think most of today's people would actually respond to a zombie apocalypse like this?
Oh.
Well, if they respond the same way they respond to wearing fucking masks.
And toilet paper.
Yeah, we'd be doomed.
Yeah.
We'd be so
Those
fucked.
are the people that would leave other people behind for the zombies, 100%.
But
I already know who you are.
Here's the other flip side of that. Those are also the same people that would go out into a huge hunting posse and go out just to shoot zombies and whatnot.
And die.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're exactly the type of people that would do that.
Fucking white people.
Oh, my God. I know. Damn it.
The South will rise again.
Oh, God. But yeah, the movie after Dawn of the Dead is also very interesting. And I think maybe in that one, maybe Romero was a little more upfront about the meaning behind it. And that's Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is really, really classic in that it has some excellent gore effects. It has an incredibly tense scenario where you pretty much have like the last remnants of the military and of the scientific community trying to figure this shit out. And it's just not fucking working at all for them. And
speaking of the scientific community, I like how this movie ultimately is space zombies.
Yeah, it pretty much is. Yeah, it's space zombies.
The root cause, or the theorized
It was a meteor.
cause of all of this was radiation from Venus, right?
Meteor.
It was either from a meteor or from a satellite that crashed into Earth.
Sputnik.
Yeah. And that may have been a little bit of a reference to Sputnik, probably, or to some other Russian satellite.
Or the blob.
Yeah, it was a space probe on its way back from Venus. See, I knew Venus was part of it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Sputnik. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, I mean, that just kind of speaks to the B-movie sci-fi horror film that Romero was trying to make here.
In the time period.
yeah, at its core, that's exactly what this is.
I mean, think about it. This was right when we were actually starting to explore. I mean, think about it, this was a year before we sent man to the moon, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, humans were sending probes out, and we were having some missions and stuff. So, that was it was a big unknown at the time. It was it's very analogous to the way that we view technology and social media today in popular culture, as this thing that could be dangerous, could have some consequences. So, it's kind of a catch-all for, unknown, doomsday events, is it's probably going to be from outer space as we're going to probe too far,
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead, the dead who live on living flesh. The dead whose haunted souls hunt the living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Night of the living dead. A bizarre adventure in fear. An experience in shock, more shattering than your strangest nightmare. Night of the living dead. A night with the dead who cannot die. A night of total terror. Night. Of the living dead.
Yeah, probably. I can totally see that. I mean, that was a constant theme throughout a lot of sci-fi and horror from this particular era, like even if you look at something like The Thing from Another World.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, that kind of has the same vibe to it a little bit. I would say, did that movie come out before this? Like way before this, right?
I think From Another World. Was that the 50s?
Yeah, I think.
Like
I don't know.
40,
It was the 40s and 50s.
47?
Do you think that movie could have had an influence on this?
Yeah, in many ways, yeah. It had to have.
Because, I mean, that involved a virulent space-influenced, agent that would completely overtake humankind.
And we forget the Last Man on Earth story.
Yeah.
The Vincent Price.
And this was influenced by, I don't know if I said this on the podcast or before we started recording, but I mentioned to you guys earlier that this was influenced by I Am Legend, the original novel.
That's arguably the original zombie story.
Except it's actually a vampire story.
Yeah, that's right. They're vampires.
Is it?
Yeah. The Will Smith version actually changed it to what was, kind of more conventional zombies. But even then in that movie, they're a little bit different, I think.
They're very different.
More animated. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, this movie was actually somewhat inspired by I Am Legend, the novel, interestingly enough.
Which is a film that came out in 2007. So check that out.
Yeah, and it had a way better ending than it got. Way better ending.
I like the Shelby Mustang in the beginning. Remember that?
Of course you're going to like
Shelby?
the car in the movie.
Of course. Who wouldn't like the fucking car?
Wouldn't like the fucking car. Of course you're going to like that.
500 horsepower Shelby. Supercharged, bro.
So you said we had Day of the Dead, and then what else from Romero's Dead films?
Yeah. After that, the next Romero-led Living Dead movie wouldn't come out until like the late 2000s, right? With Land of the Dead? Or was it Diary of the Dead that came out?
Diary of the Dead.
I think it was Land of the Dead, then Diary.
It was Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead was like 2005 or 6, right? 2006.
Oh, okay.
Leguizamo and Dennis Hopper, right?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy that you had Leguizamo and Hopper in a movie.
The Mario Bros, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
They meet again.
And it was in a George Romero movie.
Nice.
Yeah, go check out a Super Mario Brothers episode.
Oh, yeah. You definitely want to plug that one. Definitely.
Do it now.
But yeah, I really haven't seen Land of the Dead or Diary of the Dead. Robert, what are your thoughts on those movies and how they stand in this whole series of movies?
Land of the Dead is not bad. It's almost like Return of the Living Dead. You know that whole shopping mall scenario in the 80s, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's Dawn of the Dead with the shopping mall.
That one. But in Land of the Dead, they live in a shopping building.
Oh, okay.
And everybody else outside, they're like street urchins, right?
Wow.
And then Dennis Hopper owns the buildings, like the main guy. They're all doing jobs for him.
So he's kind of like a warlord in a way.
Exactly.
Do Romero's Of the Dead movies all take place in the same continuity, or?
Yeah, they should, right?
Yeah. Just less Men on Earth scenario.
Yeah. Didn't Land of the Dead have a whole thing with the zombies where there was one that was becoming like a leader?
Yeah, he was getting smarter.
And that's interesting because that plays into something that was in Day of the Dead, which was the concept of zombies actually kind of regaining a little bit of consciousness, a little bit. Like there was Bub, the main zombie of that movie. And he was pretty much, he was a lot more chill out. He wouldn't like attack you, not unless you did anything. He even shot the main villain of the main antagonist of that movie with a gun because apparently he had like some type of military background and everything. He even saluted the colonel like whenever he shoots him and kills him. I mean, that kind of ties back into that and the idea of a singular zombie just kind of rising up, becoming like a Spartacus amongst the zombies. I mean, that's compelling.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
And then there's Survival of the Dead, right? Right after Land and Diary.
Remember the Goosebumps? What was it?
Well, hold on. Wasn't Diary of the Dead like the found footage movie that Romero did?
I've never seen that one.
You never seen that one? Yeah, I heard that's what that's the angle he went with Diary of the Dead, is that it's literally a found footage movie, pretty much. Which makes sense at the time. I mean, Paranormal Activity was becoming a huge thing. Which that's pretty much the series that kind of drove the whole found footage genre into the ground a little bit. After some promising movies
Blair Witch.
Yeah, Blair Witch, of course, or like Cloverfield. Or
there's like 3 Cloverfields, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, but only one of them is a found footage movie.
And that's the first one.
Yeah, but what was the last movie? It was Survival of the Dead. I never even saw that one.
Here.
Me either.
That may have been the last movie that Romero ever actually worked on because, unfortunately, he passed away about a year or two ago, right? It was a couple of years ago at least.
Those 3 were done in 05, 07, and 09.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm pretty sure, that was pretty much the last of his output in that series.
Yeah, this was the last film to be directed by Romero before his death in 2017. There you go.
2017. God damn. It feels like just yesterday that he passed, man.
Damn.
Shit feels like just yesterday that we lost Wes Craven.
It's 2015, right?
Shit, Toby Hooper is dead. Jonathan Demme. Fucking, who else? Fucking William Friedkin, right?
Damn. Sucks that you said Wes Craven. When you go back.
There's so many fucking directors from the 80s that are dead now. It sucks. Fuck, man.
Fuck.
Right. Yeah. But this movie, like I said before, it's timeless while still being a product of its time, but it's amazing how well it holds up. I mean, especially since you have 2 different versions of this movie. You have the original black and white version, and then you have the more modern colorized version, which you can find on Netflix right now. Now, Ash, I don't think that you actually watched the colorized version, right?
No, I watched the black and white because that's what happened to be on the service that I was watching this through. I was watching this on Plex.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see this movie first with the original gritty black and white.
You have to see it on black and white first.
Yeah.
I think so. I think I kind of appreciated it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it on the TV right now too, and there's just a certain feel to this that I think that tone represents. You know what I was thinking while I was watching this, okay? I would love to see a video game adaptation of this movie done kind of in the style of Resident Evil 7, less actiony and more just kind of survival horror exploration with, some action elements. I think could be really, really cool. And just a direct adaptation with some minor changes to make it more, playable.
And you keep it within the time frame of the late 60s as well. Like,
right, exactly. And just like how Ghost of Tsushima has a Kurosawa mode, which has, shows the film in black and white with that grainy texture. This game should also have a filter, which would allow you to play it with the original black and white, kind of grainy feel. At least that's what I would do. I thought that would be badass. I saw a lot of opportunity for that.
But yeah, this movie still holds up amazingly well to this day. And just the fact that it created this genre that to this day is still being drawn from in horror and in popular culture. I mean, there's so many zombie movies that are kind of unique in their own right.
Like Shaun of the Dead.
Like Shaun of the Dead, which is very much almost a deconstruction of the zombie movie in a comedic sense.
Oh, I love Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. And what I love about that movie is that it remains humorous, but it still has there's still a serious zombie movie there, I
mean, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are just kind of this duo that very much like Seth Rogen and James Franco, like anything that you see them in together is going to be good.
Oh, it is. Yeah, definitely. It's going to be
alluding
fucking
to something,
amazing.
By the way, just hint, something we'll be doing later this season involving, that's all we're going to tell you now, involving Rogen and Franco. So just
stay tuned for that. But yeah, I mean, also Return of the Living Dead, that's an all-time classic. I mean, that's actually what established the whole zombies eating brains trope.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
And then that was more of like an alternate continuity from Dawn of the Dead, like an alternate sequel done by the other co-writer, right?
But what happened in that movie is Night of the Living Dead supposedly actually happened. And the remnants of that zombie outbreak is being held in that storage facility, that warehouse.
Right. Yeah. So it's an alternate sequel. Both movies serve as sequels to Night of the Living Dead, just in separate continuities.
Now, what's interesting about that is how that segues into the Italian zombie phase, because Zombie 2, written and directed by Lucio Fulci, like that was pretty much supposed to be a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead. It was supposed to be an actual direct sequel. And it came out around the same time that Dawn of the Dead came out.
Okay. Well, now Night of the Living Dead is also in the public domain. So since then, we've gotten a lot of spin-off sequels, remakes, reboots.
I mean, I want to talk about the Italian zombie movies in particular because they had a different flavor of zombie.
Like Burial Ground. And like The Blind Dead to a degree. I think that's Spanish, though. But Italian zombies, they're a lot more corpsey, they're a lot more like decomposed. Yeah, you can see maggots on
You can see maggots and worms coming out of them, and they're usually coming straight out of the ground. Yeah. Like they just slowly come out of the ground.
Nice.
And I mean, it's still pretty much the same lore, zombie bites you can get infected, you turn into a zombie and all that. But in most of those movies, especially like in Zombie 2, the zombies are even slower than they are in Night of the Living Dead. They're way slower, right, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, get your fast zombies from Resident Evil.
Right.
And
right.
What was that other zombie movie? It was a Goosebumps film, right? What was it?
I don't really remember a lot.
Welcome to Dead House.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Remember that, dude?
Yeah.
It was like this. It was kind of like the take from George Romero, right?
Yeah, and of course
there was sense for zombies to be slow because they're decomposing. They're dead bodies whose ligaments and nerves aren't all there.
Like
you would think eventually the zombie problem might take care of itself because they would just sort of die out. I mean, if the humans could prevent themselves from getting killed, I guess.
Well, yeah, you have to remember. I mean, that a zombie is just a human corpse. And human corpses, what do?
Decompose.
They decompose. They degrade. They even and they will do so differently depending on what region or climate that they're in. Like for instance, I mean, one thing that dead bodies tend to have a propensity to do is build up gases and explode sometimes. So in hotter weather, that's probably what you're going to have. You're going to have literal exploding zombies.
They kind of did that with The Last of Us Part 2. But in The Last of Us Part 2, they're not actually proper zombies. They're the cordyceps infection, which is a real life like fungus that
that's a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they actually did incorporate that. And in Part 2, I believe, with the fourth stage of infection being different with there's bloaters in the original and then the other one has shamblers. And because they're in more humid climates, they actually explode.
Yeah, and I think that in Left 4 Dead, they also had something similar to that as well. But I mean, also like up in like more Arctic regions, it's like you're going to have zombies succumbing to frostbite and the degradation that comes with that. I mean, honestly, a zombie outbreak could probably peter out pretty fucking quickly. It probably...
COVID zombies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is a COVID zombies movie, but that's a whole nother can.
Nice.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. And of course, it's Full Moon Features that did it.
Yeah.
Well, they sure capitalized on that pretty quick.
Oh, they capitalized on Tiger King and the Murder Hornets as well.
Oh, God.
Nice.
They capitalized on all of that.
Fuck yeah, I want to watch that now.
Oh, it's amazing. Cinema Snob has an episode on all of that. It's fucking intense.
Y'all were watching the Nostalgia Critic review of this one, right?
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah, he focused more on kind of ragging on it because he was like, yeah, this is an undisputed classic. This helped like change horror. It's a game changer, but there's some silly shit in here to make fun of, you know? And yeah, it has a lot of the horror conventions of its time, of the sci-fi conventions of its time as well.
I mean, it's not really scary when you watch it. Not by, you know, most standards of today, but I mean, there are some moments that are definitely, I think more so it's suspenseful and it's very tense.
Yeah, see, if you were a
there's
kid,
just sort of atmosphere.
Sorry,
Go
if
ahead.
you were a kid in the 1970s, it would scare the shit out of you, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
and by that and by that point you would have already had Dawn of the Dead out, which was a way more graphic movie.
I think we're just been desensitized to a lot of it, but even so, I mean, it is spooky in a sense whenever these, you know, you'll go through a portion of the movie with just normal proceedings, humans fighting each other, and then boom, all of a sudden, you know, something that's kind of a little freaky.
Yeah.
Like, you know, nothing's more harrowing than seeing the little girl, the Cooper's daughter, you know, reanimated and feasting on her father.
Yeah, that's hardcore right there.
Kills the mother with was that shovel or
a little spade? That's what that is.
Like cement
It's a gardening.
blocks?
It's a gardening spade.
Whoa,
That's what
dude.
it is. Yeah, that's interesting in its own right. Being murdered by a tool that is typically seen as a feminine pursuit. You know, gardening.
I think it was sharp, dude.
Oh, it was very much so.
Well, you used to really be scared here.
Johnny.
You're still afraid.
Stop it now. I mean it.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're ignorant.
They're coming for you, Barbara.
Stop it. You're acting like a child.
They're coming for you. Look, there comes one of them now.
He'll hear you.
Here he comes now. I'm getting out of here.
Johnny. Oh! No! No! Johnny! Help
Anyways, I think it's about time that we go ahead and start wrapping things up. Robert, you're the one who chose this movie. I'm going to go ahead and ask you for your final thoughts first.
The final thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Also, get in the frame, Robert.
Get in the frame, Robert.
Call.
I can't.
You can't? Yes, you can. There's no can't on this podcast. Come on now.
Bill's right there.
Yeah. What do you think, Robert? What are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts about this movie. I think, you know, every Halloween, it's playing. You should be watching it along with the Halloween marathons, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, just get ready to go trick-or-treating with your kids if you got kids, blah, blah, blah. For what this movie did, it did a lot for a lot of young independent filmmakers, you know, especially coming right out of 68.
Yeah, this was an independent movie for its time.
Yeah, very independent.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the best horror movies, you know, they start out that way. I mean, Halloween was an independent movie.
Yeah, that was mostly Carpenter's first project out of film school.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, Donald Pleasance was his main actor. He had starred with McQueen. He's been on Goldeneye, you know, or what was that? Dr. No or something?
Dr. No, yeah, there you go. There you go.
With Sean Connery. So, still a major star. And that movie was made for Pleasance. God rest his soul.
But what do you think of the legacy of this movie in regards to horror?
God, this thing, it's still going to this day with the video games and what is that? The Walking Dead? We're going into like the 10th season or something?
I think we're about to get into the final season of that here pretty soon.
Dude, it did a lot for us.
It did. I mean,
The idea of it and the whole apocalypse thing is just, it's damn good. I don't know.
Ash, what are your final thoughts?
Oh, I mean, as you know, I'm glad that I got to see this for the first time, as the progenitor of the zombie pop culture phenomenon, and that extends beyond film. That extends beyond the world of cinema. I mean, now, like you guys said, we have video games, we have books and TV shows and comics and, stage plays and musicals. I mean, everything you can think of. Zombies are, there's no other way to say it than a pop culture phenomenon. And that all owes, what's that?
It's a way of life, like the Terminators.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it all owes back to Romero's original work. And, he was just kind of making a cheesy B movie, or so he says, to see the amount. And I'm glad that he, was around long enough to see what his work would become, because there's not a single American, there's not a single person in the developed world that doesn't know what a zombie is. So I think that that's especially poignant. And another point I thought I'd make is, folks, make sure that this Halloween y'all are safe. We've got a lot of shit going on right now. So whatever you're going to do, just make sure that you're safe about it and have a happy Halloween.
Yeah, definitely. Those are words of wisdom right there, I would say. Now, my final thoughts on this movie is the legacy of this movie is still being felt in not just in pop culture, but in horror itself, like to this day. I mean, especially what it did for bringing really gory cinema to the forefront for the first time. I mean, this was not rated. This was an unrated movie, and it flew right in the face of the Hays Code, which had been, used in Hollywood for many, many years. It flew in the face of that. And I mean, it pretty much changed the way that we view what is actually scary and terrifying. And I mean, this is a movie that's on the Criterion Collection. Like and it's still a public domain movie, And
it's part of the. I was going to say that I forgot that it's a member of the National Film Registry, and Robert wrote that on the itinerary.
Yeah, it's also in the Library of Congress as well.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, this is an important work that anybody who is into horror in any way, they need to see this movie. It's pretty much essential. But the social commentary is palpable, even though that wasn't Romero's actual intention. But just the fact that you can make so many different interpretations of this movie, it's just a testament to Romero's writing, to his directing and his directorial choices. I mean, he made one of the most impactful movies of the 20th century. So, what else is there to say? Really.
Yeah.
He's the man.
He is the man.
The man, bro.
Yeah. But those are my final thoughts on Night of the Living Dead. And definitely, please be safe this Halloween. Have as much fun as you can. Just dress up if you need to. I don't know if trick-or-treating is a good idea or not.
No.
Probably not. But, just have a happy, safe Halloween. And now we're going to go into our plugs. So this time we're going to start with Robert. You have a short film to plug, right?
Yeah, it's Killing Night, and you can find that on YouTube. And maybe subscribe to my channel if you can.
We'll include the link in the show notes to your channel. And I think we're going to also try to put it on the Collateral Cinema YouTube channel.
Yeah, you can find it on Facebook, Collateral Cinema Facebook page, my page, and check out the Instagram.
On IGTV?
Yeah.
Right on. Well, all right, yeah. And it stars yours truly.
Yours truly.
Introducing Bo Maddox.
And you, second lead.
Yeah, it's a good short film. It's a little rough around the edges, but check it out, folks. We put some work into it.
Took a while.
And it's horror.
And it's horror, yeah.
We were sitting on it for a while, so glad it's out now.
Now, Ash, go ahead and make your plugs.
All right. Well, if you love movies and you love video games as well, be sure to check out Collateral Gaming Video Game Podcast, the sister podcast of Collateral Cinema. We're going to have our Halloween special out on Until Dawn. And we're also going to have a Halloween-themed bonus round episode as well, as I assume y'all are going to have more of a Halloween-themed director's cut.
Definitely, yeah. That's going to be forthcoming here very soon.
Right. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Our season premiere on Majora's Mask will obviously have already been out. That'll have been our previous episode. And we'll Speaking of zombies, I mean, we're going to be actually talking about The Last of Us Part 2 in November. That'll be our next episode after the Halloween. So stay tuned for all of that. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, both Collateral Gaming and Collateral Cinema. Reach out to us on social media. You can definitely friend me or follow me. I pretty much accept all requests, Ashley Allen Chancellor. And definitely check out, both the Collateral Cinema and Collateral Gaming pages. Subscribe to our Patreons.
Yeah. Definitely on our Patreons. We're going to have the Night of the Chicken Dead Poultrygeist commentary up there very soon.
Best episode yet, so.
Best commentary yet. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Podbean, Chill Lover Radio, Instagram. You can find us, as we said, on Patreon. And also look for us on, what else? On Spotify as well. And Apple Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review there, and leave us a 5-star review on Podchaser as well. That will help us out tremendously. I see that we're kind of charting in other countries a little bit, so we appreciate all of the listeners overseas. And also, become a follower on Twitter. We're trying to get up to at least 5,000 followers. That's kind of where Twitter starts taking some notice in the algorithms of your channel or whatever. So yeah, follow us there, become a patron on Patreon, and yeah, check us out wherever you get your podcasts.
For our American listeners, hey, right around this time, voting's right around the corner, so go vote.
Go
guys.
Vote. Definitely. November
Unless you're
3rd.
voting for Donald Trump, don't go vote.
Yeah, stay home. Anyway, let's go ahead and end this episode. Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon.
And I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And this was Collateral Cinema. Check y'all later. Peace out.
Bye.
Oh.
Collateral Cinema is an L Company production. All music and movie clips are owned by the respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.